Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Whoscussion. We are your hosts from Fano, that random guy, and the audibly pleasing Harriet Skelly.
Yes.
Yes.
I grow another year stronger.
Oh man, I was after Mr. President for you. Anyway, happy birthday, Mr. President Harriet Skelly. And joining us again is the incredible late crow of Automation Studios. I hope I said that correct. Tell
You
us
did.
a little bit about what you do here on YouTube.
Hello. Yes. So my YouTube channel called Automation Studios, as was just stated. That's where I drop various short film projects and doodads that I am just working. Oh,
Yes.
what?
Yeah,
You lost me?
Yeah, we both lost you. Can I get you
Yeah,
to
you just sort of faded out there for a moment.
You sort of faded out of existence. You know, I didn't hear anybody
And
say
a snap.
anything.
That's what happens.
I don't feel so good, that random guy.
Don't go there. All right. Okay. So tell us about what you do on YouTube.
Okay, so my YouTube channel, Automation Studios, is where I drop various short films and doodads that me and my friends create as I slowly hone my craft, becoming a better filmmaker and writer.
And guys, I suggest one of his latest up, which is The Secret Meeting. It has one of my favorite villains I've seen in a independent short film. It's just it's great. Guys, give it a go. So today we're going to be covering The Silence in the Library and The Forest of the Dead. Oh wait, no, we're going to be covering The Unicorn and the Wasp as well, starring everybody's favorite detective novelist, not Agatha Christie. For part B, we're going to be covering The 11 and Last of the Titans, both a 8th Doctor adventure, carrying on from the Dark Eyes series, and the 7th Doctor, and like a short trip. It's hard to put my finger on. I feel like this was like them testing the wind. Anyway, I'm going to cover The Unicorn and the Wasp. It was written by Gareth Roberts, and that's all you actually need. So we're going to go on to Silence of the Library. No, I'll take it back. I know I do it every week, but it's just come on.
Yes.
Okay.
Damn it, I was so looking forward to you skipping it.
Yeah, I was not real. Yeah, like somebody who just skipped it.
Oh yeah, straight up just did.
Yeah, I know.
I got 17 minutes into it, and I was like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah, it's like, I love that. I love that.
Did you actually
all
not
you need to know.
finish it?
Yeah, all you need to know about it gets told to you in the first 17 minutes.
Yeah.
Because they talk about the thing that the missing thing that happens with Agatha, where she goes missing, and you go, okay, so this is going to explain what happens there. But Agatha doesn't remember it, so why do I need to remember it?
She took that magical medicine. So we should too. Okay, so Silence in the Library is written by Stephen Moffat and not Gareth Roberts. And okay, fine. The Unicorn and the Wasp is just a really dumb whodunit, and it plays out more like Cluedo than it does an Agatha Christie novel.
Yeah.
And
it's bad.
Yeah, Cluedo's set in in sort of like a hyper stylized version of like an Agatha world, but it's not like her writing.
Not even close.
So I don't know why they went this route. But the Confidentials, actually, the Confidentials is my favorite part about it. So in a Facebook chat, which you guys don't get to see, but we have some crackers in there. I came up with this hypothetical conversation between Gareth Roberts and Russell T Davies, and then I watched The Confidential, and the conversation I pretended to have between those two actually happened in Confidential, and I couldn't believe that's what I was seeing. A thing I pretended is how the story got made is actually how the story got made. What the fuck? That shouldn't be possible. I shouldn't be able to work that out.
Was it the one where he was like, "Hey, we should do a silly whodunit," and then maple syrup was like, "Here's some maple syrup."
Yeah.
Was that the one? Was that really what happened? That's great.
That's actually what happened. So he said, if we're going to do Agatha Christie, we need a giant wasp. And Gareth Roberts goes, "Why is that?" And he goes, "Because when I was a kid, I had a copy of A Death in the Sky, and on the front cover there's a picture of a giant wasp, and that's why there's a giant wasp." And the copy that, you know how it looks battered and quite worn down, is actually Russell T Davies' own copy of that book.
It's legitimately his copy. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I'm just like, surely you've read it, because there's not actually a giant wasp in the story. It's like the front cover is like a metaphor. What? It's so weird. The thing that really pisses me off though, both Confidential and Doctor Who proper didn't reference this, but the gentleman who played Jago from the Talons of Wong Chun, Christopher Benjamin, was in this story.
He was.
I just feel sad. He deserved to be in a way better.
He really did.
He is incredible as Jago. He's so good. I'm a brick and Gibraltar, sir. No one could ever hypnotize me. I'm like, what the hell? Why bring him back? Yes. He was fantastic though. Him and Felicity Jones are my favorite parts of it, because they felt like they actually were from an Agatha.
Yeah, they were.
And nobody else did.
They had the charisma, and they were definitely doing it. But everything else is just no.
Yeah.
Although Donna had some real like bangers of phrases
Yeah.
in this, where she's just because she's still Donna. Like they try to write her into a bad area, and she's just like, no, I'm still Donna, so I'm gonna just do it. Like when she's like that they could just drive across country and find Blyton having tea with Noddy, and then going into extreme detail like, no, he's not real, right? And then the doctor's like trying really hard to explain, like he wants to get a word in edgewise to say that the land of fiction, but he just can't, and then he's just like, no, he's not.
He goes to say land of fiction, and then Gareth Roberts pulls himself out of David Tennant's mouth, and is like, no, and then climbs back into David Tennant's mouth.
Exactly.
And Donna's just like,
That's a terrifying image, I'm going to be honest.
What did I just see? And he's like, you think that's bad? And then he just goes, "Hwah!" And then brings up a whole can of maple syrup from Chelsea. Anybody remember Chelsea's golden syrups and maple syrups? Like big giant orange.
They still
cans?
exist.
I'll tell you what makes an amazing dessert. Get some rice, just drizzle some golden syrup on that. Beautiful.
Oh my god, I can't wait to do that in front of my wife and just watch her rage quit. It's going to be great.
Just have that in Nana's all the time. That was great.
So you make some creamed rice first and do it with the creamed rice.
No, just normal rice. It's great.
No, just cream your rice. It's not hard. You cook rice, but without water. You just do it with milk instead, and then you got cream rice. That's all you need to do.
Can you come around and piss off Jane with that, please?
You're damn right. She'll love it.
No,
she will actually love it, though. She will.
All right, yep. What are you doing tonight? I'll bring my golden syrup.
I love how we've decided not to talk about this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot we were doing Whoscussion for a moment there. I thought it was the pre-chat before we get in. Much like I wish the story was a pre-chat that never made it to gestation. But that's just not what happened. And it got written by Gareth Roberts, the same person who wrote the Carrionites. He even references the frickin' Carrionites in the story.
Yeah.
Shut up, Gareth Roberts. No one cares about your dumb monster.
They even reference bloody Charles Dickens as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Gareth.
I mean, that was a fair reference when they were like,
on Christmas.
Imagine that. Yeah.
And
the funniest thing is that it's basically them saying, "Hey, how ridiculous was this?"
Yeah.
And then meaning it, and it's like, yeah, we're stupid.
The doctor just turns to Donna. Nah, it wasn't Ghost. It was like, oh man, is that how your people?
Yep.
That's how they do farts. Oh shit. Yeah. Wrestling was like Rex the Corey fell top.
Well, it's better than the Daleks shooting each other.
Oh my god, the Daleks shooting each other. What the fuck, man?
Anyway, we need to focus up.
We haven't even touched the synopsis of the story yet.
I'm done. I don't care. It was a dumb story. Does anybody want to talk about it? Because I'm going to move on to silence if nobody does.
Okay, I want to quickly say something.
Yeah.
You have Agatha Christie, one of the greatest female writers of all time.
Yeah.
In a story.
She outsold the Bible. Just throwing that out there.
And instead of writing a good story that's historical or just good in general, you write a bad one that is a piss take of all of her life's work. Fuck you. That's all I've got for you.
It's also, the worst part is it's around an actual mental trauma where she suffered from.
Yeah.
She suffered from fugue, and they turned it into she suffered from a giant wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
fuck you, Gareth Roberts.
Yeah, exactly.
You actually excrement of a human being.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
Yes, I do. Okay.
Yay.
I've got a small list.
Oh,
I mean, it would have been bigger, but I stopped caring.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so first off, let's pretend in a magical, made-up place that the wasp thing was a good idea. It's not, but let's pretend it was a good idea for a micro span of a second.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like Gareth Roberts.
Why did they show it in the opening? Just like, here's our big reveal, instantly spoiled. Boom, done. Fantastic.
Well, I mean, it is in the title, like the Daleks.
Well,
Whilst I agree, it's like the 1920s. Those both could have been thief and a killer names.
Yeah,
they could have gotten these. It's almost like the first draft of the script was going with that route, with the whole thing with the unicorn was a thief. Then they could have just been two thieves. This could have just been that in a historical
killer.
Yeah, it could have just been a thief and a killer. It didn't need to be a magical wasp thing.
Yeah.
And also, just the thing about the whole wasp thing. First off, not even first off, just in there somewhere in the mess of crap that is this episode. A wasp that large wouldn't be able to survive in our atmosphere, let alone the wingspan of that thing would have to be bigger than a room, and would beat the sound of it would break your eardrums.
Yeah, it'd be
the sound
actually
of it.
definitely.
It's not feasible in any sense of the word, and the fact that he's able to turn into it as well, and not even a good Wolfman transformation sort of stuff. He straight up turns into an insect, and that's the thing, is that human insect transmutation isn't compatible. You know, they have an exoskeleton. They have a brain that goes way beyond the scope of ours. They have a completely different dietary tract.
Yeah.
It wouldn't translate properly.
No,
that's
why
wouldn't.
Jeff Goldblum's The Fly is a horrifically scary film.
Yeah, because his transformation, albeit non-scientific, is hair-raisingly terrifying, and this one was not.
Yeah.
And they kind of shed on that at the same time while making this.
Yeah.
So
They shat on a lot of things making this.
Yeah. Like Christie's and-
Yeah. And what was it with the bloody movie maker flashback transitions?
Oh my god, that was so bad. They used that same effect in that lady's face.
Oh no, I won't talk about that yet. But there's that scene where they're all interrogating them all, and it's dumb for starters. But they're all like, "Oh, 4:15. Oh dear, let me think." And I'm just sitting there going, "Shouldn't have to think hard. It was like an hour ago." But they're all like, "Oh my goodness, 4:15. What on earth was I doing an hour ago?" And it's like,
most of
they're
them
not
were
me,
like,
so why are they
most of them were there. Most of them, the Doctor and Donna saw
Yeah.
yeah,
as they were coming in.
such a pointless thing. Oh, this whole episode is pointless, but
It is.
and also, why did the Doctor have to have a dumb flashback? It's just completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I found it really strange that Agatha had to like struggle to bring him back to the. I was like, he's a high-functioning alien. What?
Yeah.
So he could have this flashback in like a separate partition of his brain and be in the room at the same time.
Yep.
That's true.
And then why did the wasp break off its stinger? Wasps don't do that. Bees do, but only specific bees even.
If he
And
did,
bees only do that when they die as
yeah,
well.
exactly. It would have killed this wasp because it would have pulled out quite a bit. It's connected to a number of like organs that are specific to wasps.
Yeah.
He'd be straight there.
Yeah.
The
And then there's that.
disappearing.
Yeah. This is that lady who gets squashed with a gargoyle, but she makes no attempt to run from it.
Oh
Oh,
my
and
God.
very
Just-
clearly, the trajectory of it would not have fallen on her as well. Like she was
No.
on the path, like a meter away from the building, and it was just toppling right over. So it just would have gone into the garden.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have
Yeah.
hit her at all.
Yeah.
But she just screamed as it was slowly starting to topple
Yeah.
instead of actually just like
She
stepping
screamed
back.
and then moved towards it so I could kill it.
Yeah.
She was like,
This
"I don't
episode
wanna
is
be in
terrible.
the
Kill me now.
episode." She was like, "What does my contract say? I'm in the whole episode. Nah, I'm gonna move forward and die."
She did a Liam Neeson in the prequels. Just I don't want to be in the others. I'm out.
Yeah, have you read these scripts? And Ian McGregor's like, man. So,
Yeah.
And then there's a horrendous dolly zoom while we're about things.
Oh my god.
It was like it's like they did that thing that Torture does and let the gaffer guy have a turn at being cinematographer. It's just like I saw
They
this
didn't
in
change places again.
Yeah.
It's like I half watched some Alfred Hitchcock. Let's try for this wonky dolly zoom.
Yeah. Hey, so do you know there were actually children on the production staff? If you watch The Confidential, there's a number of maybe 13-year-olds, the younger
Yeah.
he looks,
We guessed.
actually on the staff.
We guessed it right.
Yeah.
That explains a lot
You
about the
have to watch the
cinematography.
rest of this episode. It will break
I'm
your
going to.
mind. It will break your mind. The worst part is they actually asked Agatha Christie's real grandson to come in and give them. And
Oh,
the
that's
stuff he
just-
talks about in The Confidential, you can see did not end up on the screen.
That is actually
And
disgusting.
I was like, is this confidential? I mean, this is the reason they got cancelled. Because they were like just shitting on you. It's
Yeah, because they were very clearly showing the ills that they have done,
Yeah.
and BBC could not take it anymore.
like, you guys need to calm your shit. And they're like, we're probably not. So yeah. There was a unicorn and the wasp. Just
It was awful. Don't watch it.
yeah.
Just watch the Confidential. That's all you need to watch.
Yeah. Actually,
Or 17 minutes of the episode.
yeah. So just before we go on, you know how I've said in the past when I give out new to people, I'd like just don't have episodes.
Yeah.
This is
Yep.
one of, so I got a text from the gentleman who played your villain, by the way, in your latest short film,
Oh right.
going, why did Donna have a flashback to a giant wasp? I was just like, because of the unicorn and the wasp. He was like, what? And I was like, on second thought,
right.
don't Google that. And he was like, sweet, safe, and then he never did.
I'm a little bit jealous that he's not seen that story.
Yeah, he's not seen it.
Yeah, the ills of doing a Who podcast. You have to watch all of this.
Also, if he got all the stuff from you, then he wouldn't have seen the Idiot's Lantern either.
No, he hasn't seen the idiot.
Wow, he's just had a glorious experience with Doctor Who.
The every episode with the Savine from series 1.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, you just don't need them. You don't. Who cares
That's
that Lydia's
beautiful.
missing? And literally, so he's like, man,
That's beautiful.
he's like, man,
That's glorious.
too. So they didn't.
That is fun.
That's what I do with
That's-
people.
that's
I make sure they don't take
That's-
it off.
That's beautiful.
So,
All right,
Silence
Let's
in
move
the
away
Library.
from this.
Silence in the Library is. See, ow! I just really snapped my.
Oh god.
Did anybody else hear that? Holy shit, that was painful. Anyway, Silence in the Library has, you know what? I just watched these episodes and I am struggling to recall anything. Am I the interesting one? No. So there is the doctor. So there's a little girl getting treatment from a therapist, Dr. Moon, who I love that actor by.
Colin Salmon is actually great, and it's great because I have an uncle whose name is literally Colin Salmon.
That's amazing. That is so good. So, so she's getting treatment there. Oh, hey, what's going on here? And he goes, hey, you need to imagine yourself in the library. And then he sees the doctor and Donna burst in and be like, oh, hello. And, goes, and that's the end. We get brought in and we end up with, I suppose, a flashback of sorts where we see why the doctor and Donna are here. They're at the library and she goes, hey, we'll get to the beach. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty funny because with the library last episode and in the box set that Whoscussion did last week,
yeah,
we were getting here. So like we listened to that in the right place.
We really did.
It was great.
He was making his way there slowly. And then River-san was like, actually, hurry up.
Yeah, hurry. So he's gotten a message and Donna's like, oh wow, with a kiss. And there's only one time the shot doesn't look like really bad, and it's when they talk to African lady who's donated her face to the library. And she's the only one that actually looks like the face is in the statue. The others, not so much. Not even.
It's really sad that like so for a lot of this, it's just green screen stuff, right? But there is a whole lot of sections where they are actually standing in a physical library sort of setting.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is that if they still had the green screen footage, they could have fixed a lot of this now with better CG, and it would be fantastic. Because the concept that they've got with that actually looks fantastic.
Yeah, I like it. Like,
so
it's not like it's like real avant-garde, future-looking like marble statues with like a physical human face that gets projected using a flesh bank database. I was like, that's awesome because I could so see humanity doing that. Like,
it's very much the precursor stuff to the Glass people.
Yeah.
So you can tell who wrote this story.
Yeah. Hey, why is Stephen so obsessed with Gallifrey's Matrix? He's like super
because he doesn't want to die.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sort of. There you go.
Confirms real life canon. Whoscussion canon. Stephen Moffat doesn't want.
Do any of us really?
Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, I suppose after Unicorn the Wasp, we did.
After watching that, yeah, straight up.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you like lived for like, let's say we like lifespan of, and for a good 90% of that, we're like still physically, we would be working that entire.
Yeah.
So
I'm
pretty glad that we just die.
in the current economic climate, yes, it would absolutely suck to live for way too long.
Yeah.
But if it stayed exactly the same as it is at the moment, and we all suddenly got an extra 200 years, it would probably be fine because you just work your regular lifespan, your 80 years. During that time, you'd save up a bunch and like have that little Easter egg stuff you have, and then you'd invest it somewhere, so you just consistently have money afterwards. And you'd be fine for 200 years.
But I mean, then you got to look at the people, like, there would still be an education for people that like didn't have access to good education facilities, and then they're going to be like 200 years of being poor.
Well, you've got 200 years of sorting that out.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of the great thing about time is that it's the great equalizer for a lot of people, because as much as like there are people who get born into extravagance and have everything just given to them, if you're born into a lesser place but you work for long enough or do enough time, basically you can eventually get to a point where you're fine. And a lot of the time for people it's 80 years is not long enough, or in some places 60, but 300 years, that's probably enough time.
I suppose I think there would be a lot of issues, like especially like people who were in jobs that would have never earned them enough money to keep after the fact.
Yeah, it would have to be. There would definitely be issues, but I think there would be less issues than there are now.
Right. Well, guys, that's been Whoscussion for part 8. That was actually significantly more of an interesting story than this. It's not bad. I'm not saying that, guys. The two-parter isn't bad. But anyway, the Doctor's here. He's been given a message, as Harris Kelly said in River Song. Of course, at this point in production history, we didn't know who that was. She turns up with a group of astronauts and it was like, hey, earlier I ran away from a shadow and scared a robot. And funnily enough, when he was scanning the set from earlier, the little girl and the care of Dr. was like, oh, I'm in a lot of pain. The one thing I do have an issue with, the little girl, in hindsight, so at the time I thought it was like really interesting. Hey, this girl from contemporary times. But with hindsight, knowing that she's actually living in, why does New Who think that the future will still have the year 2000s?
I mean, it's almost entirely the year 2000 for them. Like they live in a year 2000 house. They have a year 2000. They have a year. They have CRT monitor screen for God's sake.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So at the same time, it's also like her existence is
A simulation, right?
is about the books.
Mm.
Like that her apparently, according to her dad at least, she was always a big fan of books, and a lot of books, I'd say a majority of books, would have been written prior to her existence. So she'd probably have a whole lot of like ideas, previous ideas about how life used to be, and maybe she just wanted to simulate that for herself.
Yeah, okay,
But it doesn't really make sense that the other people that she saved have that same experience. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, and next
Unless
week
she
we're doing
forces them
Night,
upon
which is
them.
the super far future.
Oh yeah, and then there's still, we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
But
And then they still have, like,
but another big thing about the whole like future contemporary stuff going on is the fact that they are all paperback books.
yeah, the Doctor does like have a throwaway line where he's like, people never get over paper books, and I can feel that, but I grew up with them, and I think
There are
people who haven't. I think it's gonna go away.
I think there will always be one or two people, maybe even a couple of hundred people, who do like the physical feeling of a book. But at some point, we're going to get to a nature where we don't need to do a straight up print of a book. If you want a book and you want to read it physically in your hands, or for some reason you wanted to fill up your own library full of books, then you wouldn't need to cut down a forest to get it. You'd synthesize it somehow. And really, the library, the international universal library, shouldn't be a big planet Coruscant sort of thing.
Yeah.
It should just be.
It does look like Coruscant.
It does look like Coruscant. It should have been just a data center that you log into and get to. Especially when they can simulate everything else. Why bother having an entire planet made out of a library when you could just simulate it? Like,
Yeah, they could just plug into
okay.
hell and then be like, cool. books.
exactly. So the idea is nice, and I imagine at some point we probably will have something like this where someone with a ridiculous amount of money thinks it's really cool to just go ahead and do it, but it probably won't be that great.
Yeah.
Like it'll maybe
There
get
were no
like
roofs over the books.
yeah, it'll eventually people will just get over it and just it'll probably last maybe 50 to 100 years maximum.
Yeah.
But I guess this one got a special treatment because it got a disaster happen to it, so now it's an archaeological site. So there you go, future proof.
Yeah, there we go. To have a historical disaster happen, boom, you can white terraces.
But just before we continue on, though, the initial point where like you start to see something weird's going on is when the Doctor says, it's a big planet and it's silent completely and there's no people anywhere.
Yes.
And you're just like, okay, that seems a bit weird. Even like in a traditional library, it's not completely quiet. And he's like, it scans for two human-sized life forms, I guess. And then it scans for all other types of life, and it says, we're going to stop it at 1 billion. Well, 1 million, but that's British for you, so it's still a billion. It's a planet, right? It's planet-sized. It would probably have more than 1 billion people on it at one time.
Here's bacteria. He scans all life forms.
Although, can I just, if I may interject, if I remember rightly, it's not because it registered a million, it's because it wasn't able to count any higher.
No,
It
that's what
stopped.
Haskell said.
Exactly. So why would, if it's a design to be a planet-sized library, surely.
Oh right. Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it surely would be able to count higher than 1 billion. Like.
Absolutely, it wouldn't.
Maybe Cal's RAM was just too chocker full of people, and it couldn't.
Yeah, I mean maybe, but then that should have been the statement that he made. He should have been like, I wonder why it's given up. It should have lots of processing power. Like,
it's literally looking after a planet full of information. Maybe it should have a bit more. But it don't.
It's also only 4,000 people were there at this one time.
That was
4,022.
Yeah, it's a planet.
Yeah, it's an entire planet. Like.
Maybe it's like, as you suggested, people are starting to just get tired of paperback books, and that's all.
That's probably it. Those are the only people who actually care.
This place would have to have an economy.
Not necessarily if it's all robotic.
I suppose, but I mean, like, wouldn't there be jobs to like fix the software side of things as well?
Yeah, but that's what the Doctor Moon is for. So maybe there's jobs on the Doctor Moon.
The Doctor, like, no one was affected on the Doctor Moon. Just no one ever checked up.
They've just been sitting there for 300 years, just like no one cares about us.
Unless maybe the other 1 million people or whatever actually did die from the Vashon Rider and the 4,022 were only people that were saved.
Who got saved.
Yeah, that's probably it. Actually, that makes sense.
They might have been moving to another location on the planet using the teleporters.
Yeah, they were about to be transported, so they were lucky enough before the Vashon Rider killed everybody else. So I guess it makes
way more sense. Yeah, I could buy that. I mean, like, that's us filling in the canon. I'd buy it. Yeah.
I mean, there could be a lot. The thing is that like this idea of a planet-sized library could lead into a whole other storyline effectively of things happening on a planet that's just a library.
Yeah.
Because as you're saying, there would be an entire civilization effectively of people who live there in a library. Like there would be a race of people who call themselves librarians, and people would be like, oh, you just like work in a library? And like, no, I live in Liberia.
And then the Daleks will invade it and try and create this evil plan, and Seven will have to come and stop them.
Exactly. Absolutely. Please don't tell me this.
No,
because they've got the microscopic life forms as well.
Stephen Moffat.
Oh my god. No. First they ate Vulcan, now they're gonna eat me too. Oh my god. So yeah. This lady turns up.
I'm in this episode.
Yeah. This lady turns up and she's all like, hey, hello, sweetie. Always hated her. I don't know what it is. I just always hated that that's a catchphrase. Hello, sweetie. Shut up. She's all like, hey, we met upstream. And she's all like, hey, I've got the squareness Captain Jack left. Like, I laugh at archaeologists. I was like, Benny was your best. He's saying this specific. Why?
That makes sense because he's an asshole.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, 10 is an assholes. There we go. So he's all like, I laugh at her. And she's all like, I know you. And Donna's like, do you know him? Yeah, he doesn't know you. She's like, do you know him? I was like, Donna, surely you can work this out. He's a time traveler, and she met him in her past and his future.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
Get Firewise.
Get Firewise. So she's all like, well, better get Firewise now. And the doctor's like, hey, people are dying. People start getting killed. Proper Dave gets killed by these.
Well, Miss Evangelista dies first.
Oh yeah, Miss Evangelista dies first. That scene where Miss Evangelista died first was just really good.
Yeah. The thing about the Veshinarada is they're an actually fantastic enemy.
Yeah.
Especially considering they're not ones that can be defeated. And I really wish that they had been the thing that people latched onto and Moffat turned into his legacy thing instead of the angels, because there's no way to market these.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you market a broken light bulb?
You can't. Exactly. You can't market. You can market an angel with the statuettes and stuff. You can't do it with the Veshinarada.
Yeah, because you imagine a fashion stone will replace with the Veshinarada just walking around with these like military types, like skeletons with. God,
yeah, exactly.
People were like, "Oh, it's too scary." I'm like, oh, I don't know Mary Woodhouse was. So the doctor, this Lady River song, she's like, hey, I know you, but you don't know me. So the doctor's like, Don, I'm going to save you. And he teleports her away. And then she gets abducted in the TARDIS stuff. Like, ah. And then the doctor's like, River's like, Doctor, what do we do? And he's like, oh, we're going to have to wait for the next week. And I remember IRL being like, no, I have to wait for next week. What? No. Because part 1 is really that good.
It actually is.
Part 2 starts, and the doctor's all like, damn it, Proper Dave's been turned into a pretty cool, like, sci-fi zombie, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
One of the best, actually.
Yeah. Hey, who turned out the lights?
Oh my god, it's actually like one of the most terrifying lines of all time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how they managed to do it. Like, they turned that, like, real innocuous phrase into one of the most terrifying things of all time.
Absolutely. So he's all like, hey, who turned out the lights?
Just genuine nightmares from when I was younger of those skeletons in those suits.
Wait, right, the skeletons in the suits, and this is like predates Dead Space. So the doctor's like, I need a reason.
See,
with
I
it.
told you I was in this episode.
Yeah, exactly. You were in this episode. So he tries a reason with it, and then he's like, no, oh no, other Dave's dead too. And other Dave's like, how many lines of dialogue do they actually have? And he's like, the doctor's like, oh, I'm gonna escape now, and I shoot, and then he's safe. Then we see Donna, temporary time hospital, where she's being treated for what I presume to be mental illness. And the Donna is questioning the realities of this world. So she says she wants to do something, or something suggested to her, and then she finds herself doing it. And Dr. Moon is like, hey, that's how things have always been. And to begin with, she's been told by Dr. Moon how to remember the events. And then later on in the story, she reminds herself of the events that never ever took place. That is fantastic writing. So she's all like,
can't wait for that well to try it.
Can't wait for that to just run completely out of water, and he becomes worse than her.
It's gonna be a good time.
He was around too long, to be honest. He should have done his first 2 seasons and then tapped out. Then again, half series 6 pretty shit too. Anyways,
yep, that actually marks the point where it went downhill.
It just plummets. It's like that gargoyle that killed that lady. It just plummets straight down. Somehow a little bit to the right with series 10, it still went straight down. So,
I'm pretty sure I remember the last good stories of series 6. Oh no, we'll keep God Complex in there because that comes with
God Complex. Oh my god!
But then I quite enjoy the ones with the the Rebel Flesh or whatever it is.
I hate those episodes with a passion.
Really?
Yeah, I fucking
Wow.
loathe them.
I thought those are like some of the only like savable ones.
Oh, really? Interesting. I really,
We'll,
really
we'll have to
dislike
get back to
it.
those then.
Interesting. Anyway, that the guy from that played the fellow with the white hair. He is actually the actor who plays the 11.
Oh, that is.
So there we go.
That's awesome.
So
Well done for bringing it back to this week. It was a good segue. Well done.
exactly. So they're all like, "Hey, we're married.
So Donna's-
has a
yeah.
family." No, don't worry, I was there. I just had a massive like pang in my brain just then. So
Sorry
Donna's
for
like, got
laughing.
family. She's got kids, and there's this lady in a black veil who's all like being all super mysterious and stuff. And she leaves a letter. The world is a lie, and her husband's like, I'm super adorable. Would be pretty cool as a companion. I was like, you so are. And it's
You would have been a fantastic companion.
yeah, it's a little too late. But
I think it would have been fun for him to be around and then die in the last episode.
oh my
and
god,
then,
it's the Daleks.
yeah, and then Donna forgets him.
Oh,
Yeah.
how cool is that? Oh my god, can we go back and rewrite that? That's awesome. Because it could have been her and him hanging out on midnight while the doctor's off, and then like by
Exactly.
the pool, like la 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 la. Oh, that's
Exactly.
fantastic. Anyway, so Donna goes, I've got your letter last. Let me get my letter last few seconds. Donna's like,
And
what?
then upon deciding to come, you suddenly appeared.
Yeah. Now there is a fantastic shot here that just like everybody was on point for the two-parter. Like there were some VFX shots that haven't aged well, and in the remastered 1080p, whoa, that shot with Doctor and Donna in that hallway that's completely CGI. And
Oh yeah.
the Doctor and Donna look incredible, and the hallway looks pixelated to all hell. It's amazing. Anyway, and when Donna turns up, before she even sees the lady in black and tells the kids to go play, you see a little girl in the same clothes as her daughter.
Yeah.
Before anybody draws attention to it. Is incredible. And so she goes over, hey, look at the kids, look at all the kids. And Donna's just like, oh.
And the thing is, like, it actually works as like a because of that nature as well. It works as a reveal for the audience as well.
Yeah.
Just so good, because you could just like, I mean, obviously you kind of understand what's happening, but then when it shows that, you really understand what's happening. Admittedly, Moffat's playing this he's going to play the simulation card again,
Yeah.
and it's going to suck.
Yeah.
But this time around, it works.
It works really well. It's fantastic. And Donna's just like, why are you wearing that veil? It's the veil off. And the lady's face is all like, I'm the flashback animation from the Wasp. Now,
It's such an awful Photoshop, but
yeah,
it's so funny.
I love what I do like though is it's because like she was a corruption by a computer and the image is just not good. And I've seen graphical glitches in video games that are just incredible. If anybody's listening out there, go and watch the day Final Fantasy 15 broke.
Oh, that one was great. Just the shaders.
Yeah, fantastic. So I've seen stuff like this, but what I think would have been significantly better is if she was hideously physical, practical.
Yeah,
Like
but it is very
Elephant Man
computerized. I think what may have been better is if like she was actually like a Vincent Van Gogh painting, instead of like her stuff being like bigger and like distorted. Like her face was actually upside down and like to the
Picasso?
right. Yeah, like a proper Picasso.
Oh
Like,
wow, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That would have been
that
really
would have been
interesting.
cool. Oh man, dude, when they 1080p'd this, they really should have thought about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But either way, I think it does work because I mean, again, I've seen some incredible graphical, which essentially this is.
I just love how it's played off like it's a really scary reveal,
Yeah.
like initially,
Just
and
looks
then
creepy.
yeah, and then like the kid is like freaking out about it, and then when you pan back to it, you're like, actually, that just looks really ridiculous. Like it's not actually scary at all.
I can imagine though, as a child though, seeing someone's face that like horrifically disproportionate, I would probably
maybe.
not be too good about it.
Well, you have a real problem with disfigured stuff.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So especially like elongated limbs, man, don't do that.
Yeah.
And like moving at like less frames than normal, don't do this. But yeah, I think they're like just imagine my mom like, don't look. Oh man, I'm sorry, my son's just been so annoying. She's like, that's quite alright. It's a simulation, alright. But yeah, so Donna's like, no, I'm gonna take my kids back to safety. And then she finds herself putting and then she's like, and then her kids like, oh my god, the delivery these children give. It's like, when you don't look at us, mummy, we stop. And she's like, what? And then, if you close your eyes, then I'll never clean. Turns back to her daughter being empty. And I'm just like, this is heartbreaking. And the performance Catherine Tate gives is spellbounding. She is a mother who lost her children. I'm just like, this is too good. Like, I feel so bad for Russell because like so many of the best stories he had nothing to do with in his run. I'm sorry, Russell. You write Midnight though. Just throwing that out there, Russell. You Midnight. And so the husband comes home and he's like, what's going on? The world's gone crazy. Everything's turned topsy-turvy. The doctor and Donna have both figured out on their respective journeys that there's a simulation that people have been turned into computer data, and Donna's having this complete breakdown. And the doctor's like, I'm saving everybody. It's happy. And it's just a great contrast where the doctor's like, yeah, I'm saving the day. And Donna's like, I'm losing everything I ever cared about.
Like,
but then the doctor also has a very similar sort of, oh shit, things have gone wrong when River, in true River fashion, knocks him over the head and then does it herself.
She's just like, I'm just gonna, because she needed to be, she was acting as the dump file.
No, she was just adding more memory because of so it very does add into the whole like that the reason why she couldn't calculate more than a billion was because her memory was full, because it legitimately is full of people, because she could have easily just kept them like in a stasis sort of scenario where they would just like not active at all, but I guess she didn't do that and just continued to let them like run out their life, which I guess is a nice thing, and she is a little girl, so it kind of makes sense she should make that decision. But yeah, if she hadn't have done that, then she would have a lot more memory to be able to save them, but she didn't. So I guess that's basically it, is to give her the memory space. They let her use their brains to do it, which doesn't really kind of make sense that River would be able to do it, but then you realize she's actually technically part Time Lord, so that's why.
Like, I'm gonna friend somehow, and it's like, what? How? And Stephen's like, I don't know why. She just is. I'm Stephen.
Because she got conceived in the TARDIS, I think.
Shut up, man. Just shut up. Just shut up. Like, you look at, like, Ben and Polly, some stuff definitely happened in the TARDIS there. They're having space babies. You know.
A time head.
Yeah. What is a time head? I don't know, but what if it had one? Oh, man.
At the same time, it does make sense. Because of the stuff that Stephen Russell did, with the whole time radiation stuff, it does kind of make sense that there could be a possibility of that happening. But what I do think that happened is only a very fractional amount of her was changed at birth. But what actually happened was the people who were the religion people who were in charge of the silence had actually changed that, so she was even more Gallifreyan than she was.
I think that's what happened as well.
Yeah, that they forced
it
on her.
Weird, because in my fan fiction series I wrote with my friend, that is actually something that happened. So we had it that Lucy Saxon actually was in that female prison. They had like taken the child out and like test lab grown it and filtered out everything human about it. And then when I saw the little girl regenerate in Day of the Moon, I was like, oh my shit. Oh my shit. I wrote this exact scene. Girl dies randomly in the middle of nowhere and regenerates. So that was a bit creepy. That was a moment where I was just like, do I live in the Matrix? And then my friend just texts back a line of ones and zeros. And I was like, oh. I had to call her. She was just like losing it. She was pissing herself. She's like, I can't believe you're scared. I was like, yeah.
But anyway, we will get to the song.
We will get to the song. I'm a character who I think really outstayed her well.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So the River's all like, oh, and the doctor goes, hey, earlier you whispered, hey, do you know you're supposed to be the doctor in the season you meet up with me, confused as to why you don't recognize because you have a face doctor I actually. And that's because David Tennant was signed up to do the season with Moffat and then was like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yep.
That's why that's a tad bit confusing, because she's like super perplexed as to why this person she recognized by his face was like.
Well, she does. Okay, she has. So they do kind of explain it by saying that she has pictures of all of his identifications, so that she can spot them out.
Just like scissor kicking her in the head.
anyone before 9 would just consider 6. Oh, I guess 8 wouldn't scissor kick her either. Yeah, everybody else would.
Yeah. Aberration! I'm going to kill you now.
Hybrid though. Anyway,
yeah, so scared. Susan, you better not have children with David. Why? Because I'm afraid of hybrids, kiddo. When?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hand of Omega. Bye, Susan. What was he saying? He was saying we should have hybrid. Okay, cool. So that's the end of that story. What was everybody's thought on the Hand of Omega? I mean, the two-parter.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah. Let's go, Harrison.
There you go, Late Crow. You've got.
All right. Yeah. I don't have any major thoughts. It was pretty decent.
I agree.
Although that being said, I think almost anything would be decent after what came before it. So, so I didn't really have a high bar to overstep there. So that's just like stepping over a threshold, really. But that was pretty decent. It's kind of reminding us of a time when Moffat could actually write.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, all of the children in this are actually really good actors, which is decent. So the girl who played Cal I found to be pretty good.
Oh man, when she delivers that line, what a clever girl. I was just like, you were going places.
Which, well, that's sad because I looked her up and she doesn't seem to have done anything since this.
I know, it sucks. I was just like, she's a good actress.
Well, she probably is just doing stage plays. That's what British actors do. Come on.
That's true.
Real hard in the stage play.
Oh yeah, so much so. As you said, the scene where Miss Evangelista dies was really, really good.
Yeah, it was harrowing, man. And he did, again, Catherine Tate's performance, where like the lady loops her conversation with Donna, just doesn't get it. Like, I love that about Donna, man, because like she's in this future space world and everything is just brand new to her, and she's standing there and she just can't get it. And you see the same thing when she was at the planet of the Ood, you know, trying to communicate by holding its orb. And they're also like, don't do that. And it's like, dude, she doesn't know. She's from 2009.
Yeah.
She really doesn't know.
Yeah.
And it's really sad for her because she understands death, and that is very much the thing that is happening, but she doesn't understand how it's working at the moment or how to deal with it. And in many different ways she doesn't know how to deal with it, and that's what makes it that much more compelling.
I think that, the only issues I have with the story are just really, really anal nitpicks, such as because I think it's possibly down to the fact that they put so much emphasis on shadows, don't cross each other's shadows and all that. But there are times when, especially when you have like wide shots, where you can see the characters walking through each other's shadows willy-nilly. So it's just,
they put a lot of emphasis on it, and they didn't do enough production work to get it to work properly. Yeah, that's basically it. If they had better sets for it, then it would have been fine. Just wider open spaces and stuff, it would have been perfectly fine.
The director, one of my favorite, in The Confidential, you can see is the shivel so hard on this too hard.
Yeah.
And the fact that, like, as he says, as soon as I saw shadows in the script, I almost didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Because that's
I can imagine. Like, as a cinematographer, that would just read your brief. No shadows. What? Sorry.
Any part of production just would have lost their shit at that point. That is not me. And that's why there is some production goofs there where, like, very clearly some people only have one shadows when they're meant to be having two at this point in time. And just it's very much not their fault that these goofs have happened. And if they had a lot more time and a lot more money, they could have pulled it off way better. But for what we got, it was fantastic. Like, it was unless you were really paying attention, you didn't notice that much. And the great thing about it is that, because even though they did point out that, like, shadows and watch the shadows and watch that stuff, basically what the director did is just very barely ever shown where the shadows were forming. Very barely ever. And it was only in, like, when they necessarily had to do a wide shot then you even noticed that. But otherwise it was perfectly fine, because they just kept a what's the angle? Fuck. It's been a long time. Where they don't where you're just seeing the torso of everybody. You're not seeing anything else. So it's just a straight shot, like straight across, instead of.
I'd have gone. I don't know if I'm using the term right, but I'd have called that a mid shot.
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of a mid shot, but it's weird because it has a lot of people in it. So basically, they without showing any proper casting of shadows, so you don't realize that they would be standing together. I mean, when you think about it properly and you actually focus on it, you're like, yeah, they're absolutely crossing shadows right now. Like when they all run into where Miss Evangelista is, and you're just like, that room has no light, and you've all just run in there willy nilly. You're all dead now. Like,
when Tim says to Donna really early in the story, "Don't stand in the shadows," and then walks directly into a shadow. That's 10 out of 10.
Yeah, there's some really great stuff. But other than that, there's so much good in this, really.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
So I do have some other things quickly to say. So the simulation idea, as I said, it does get played out by Moffat later with those God of War pyramid episodes. But this one, it plays really well with the idea that, like, they're being kept in this sort of a Matrix scenario, but not, like, knowingly. And I guess it makes sense the way that, like, she's to keep them from freaking out about it. She's, like, simulated their life and is forcing that sort of stuff on them, just like she does with Donna, where she's made it so that she has a real life and gets with somebody and all that sort of stuff, so that she doesn't focus on it being not real. Because obviously that would freak anybody out, you know, like being told you're in a simulation, and you just freak out about it. It's just a thing. So it makes sense that that's the case. I love the way that Moffat also immediately realizes that the sonic screwdriver is a terrible thing again for a story, and has basically removed its functionality.
He turns it into a USB thumb drive.
Yeah, and it's just like fantastic. But then he also kind of turns it into he understands it's what's the word? He understands it's iconography to the New Who, but he also understands that it's a terrible plot device to have. So the Doctor barely ever uses it as a plot device. Like when he's going to open the door and Donna kicks it in instead of him using it, and this is where he sets up it doesn't work on wood as well, so that he can use that later, obviously. But then as soon as they're doing other things with the Sonic, it doesn't work for a lot of the stuff, or it's crapping out, or he even states, "What's wrong with you?" and he tries to do it and it doesn't work, sort of stuff. Moffat was trying really hard to get rid of it, so much so that he gave it to Riversong so he could eventually write it out. So,
could you imagine how frustrated Ten would have been chronologically in the story? Because like for him, 2 stories prior, his Sonic crapping out meant he was forgetting how it works.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so he would have been like,
no, please.
Again.
But yeah, it really does show that Moffat really did have the beans to write good Doctor Who, and that's why he got the job initially to do it. And through his initial making of it, it was fantastic, and he did a really good job because he had set up for an arc, right?
Yeah.
And this is what Forest of the Dead is all about as well, is that arc that he set up for with Riversong as well. So it's basically showing you also where he failed. Really, is as soon as he doesn't have that kind of direction, it just sort of falls apart, and he just starts recycling random bits.
As soon as Amy and Rory get dropped, the show is unwatchable.
Yeah.
And we watched it.
We did.
and we're going to watch it again. Why?
No, you have to watch series 8. Oh no, I hate every single
Hey, at
one
least
of
we don't
you.
have to do. At least we don't have to do those other ones.
Oh, yeah, series 9, no. Bad.
I feel like we should just end it at the
At the end of 11.
No, I think we should finish at
50th?
the 50th. I feel like we should really just do that.
Well, I mean, I like Time in the Doctor though.
Yeah, we can watch that. We can just watch the good ones.
If you do, then we're not going to do it.
Yeah, we can just do the good ones, and then none of the rest of it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I just after
done.
watching Unicorn and the Wasp, I'm just
Yeah.
I can't, like, there is.
I don't care anymore. Is that the feeling
Yeah.
you got when watching Unicorn and the Wasp?
That's basically it. Like, I was just like, this is not worth it. Like, as much as I love Doctor Who, watching how bad it was, how disrespectful it was, just got to me on another level. And that's why I think that we should basically just start watching only good ones. Like
Is it a consensus?
we should just like vote on the episodes that we're going to watch.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay.
So
I'm okay with that.
if most of us can't get through one episode, we just want.
Can we skip the Valerian 2-parter in series 5 then?
Which one was that?
The Hungry Earth.
Oh yeah, we can absolutely skip the shit.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Because I loathe it.
Can we skip Vampires of Venison?
Yes! Oh my god, this is the best Whoscussion ever.
Okay, but that one, I feel like we owe it, because they're both 2-parters, I feel like we have to mention them at least. So I don't think we should watch them, but we should
The Vampires of Venison standalone.
Standalone.
Oh, was it? I
Yeah.
thought it was 2-parters.
I know, it just drags, eh? Because
Yeah.
the whole like daughter turning into a vampire side plot, I don't
Yeah,
care.
that was weird.
Why did you introduce that character? I don't give a shit.
Okay.
This is
Then,
basic Who?
at the very least, we need to do a quick discuss on why those episodes are bad, but we don't have to watch them.
Yeah, exactly. Because Unicorn the Wasp we should have skipped. I was sitting there watching it, and when I got to the end, I felt like I had watched it twice. That's how boring it is.
Yeah.
I felt like I lost
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying about it. Like, that's why I skipped halfway through, because it really did. It lended itself perfectly in the same. Like, it was already led up to the end at that point. Like, they'd set up everything you need to set up, and it was so obvious that it already finished. Basically, like, you didn't need to finish it. That's why I just skipped it. So, yeah,
no,
we'll absolutely do
in
that.
the 2-parter.
So we need to talk about that, but we don't have to watch it.
We feel like Rory died last episode. Oh, was that Whoscussion? Who cares? That's
We just need to talk about why it's bad,
Yeah.
and
Who
what problems
cares?
are it. But I don't think we need to actually watch it.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, cool. I'm glad. I really wish we had come to this conclusion.
Well, we had to at least try, you know.
Yeah, we tried. We gave it a
And
go.
we've given it a good go, you know. Some of us even watched fully the recording. So
I know. You know what sucks is like work was somehow not busy. I was like, why? I was like, I want something to do that's not the.
Yeah.
So there we go. So guys,
cool. So those are our final thoughts on part A.
Yeah, that's
We're
part
gonna
A.
stop watching bad ones.
we're not watching bad ones. Okay, guys. Yeah.
It makes me feel actually really good just coming to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Right, guys. We'll catch you in part B.